Eric.
And we're the Yateses. And this is Holy Matrimony.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to share a little bit about Holy Matrimony.
Holy Matrimony is just, it's whatever we want it to be. No, it's what we have been given to come and to talk and speak about the wonderful institution of marriage from our perspective. We've been married for almost 18 years. Next month it'll be 18 years.
Crazy.
So our marriage is almost legal. No, our marriage is almost full grown. But
we're almost adults.
Yeah, but we've had a lot of different experiences in our marriage. But throughout our marriage, God has really drawn us closer and closer together as the years go by, and we just feel compelled to spread that and tell people that, because there's a lot of negative images surrounding marriages in our society, and we want to fight that with the love of God. So we're just here to talk about different things, whatever it may be, whether it's finances, communication, sex, whatever that comes up in marriage. We want to talk about it. So that's what we're here to do.
So that your marriage can be whole.
Yeah.
Or you can learn how to enter into your marriage whole if you're not married yet, or if you're no longer married and you want to be, or I say if you're no longer married and you don't want to be. We still want to encourage you to live a whole life. And so that's why we started Holy Matrimony. So thanks for joining us. Like we said, we took last week off, and but we do have a few episodes that are up on our page on Facebook and on YouTube. You can search YouTube for Holy Matrimony, and you can also follow the two of us on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Candace_cultivates.
Yeah, and mine is Yaktastic1, YAKKTASTIC1.
Yaktastic.
Yeah.
But if you're right here on Facebook, you can always follow our page, Holy Matrimony. You can like and follow, and please, we would love for you to share us with your friends, and meet us here every Sunday night for Sunday night service, because we're just two church kids, so we have our own version of Sunday night service. Hopefully we won't keep you all night long.
Yeah. Also, we have podcasts out there.
Yes.
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and what's the last one? Buzzsprout and Spotify. So if you're out and about driving and you want to just take some time to hang out with us, just go to those sites and you'll find us there. Holy Matrimony. Yeah.
So awesome. So thanks for joining. Like we kind of started off in the beginning, we took last week off. I got my vaccine on last Saturday. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and I am fine. I do not have those genetic markers that they're concerned about. But, it was funny because, like, I know a lot of people that got it, and so they were like, oh, no side, you'll be fine. I didn't have no side effects. I didn't have any side effects, and I was fine, like, Saturday, and then went to church, and I'm on the worship team, and I think I went a little hard.
She was pressing in.
I think I went a little hard.
Sorry.
And it was like, as we were on our way home, like, I was like, man, I am so tired. And, we sometimes take a nap on Sunday, but I just felt like wiped out. And I was like, I'm going to have to take a nap. And then I was like, I really need to make myself eat something, because I could kind of feel like that my appetite was like fading. And I was like, I should be hungry because I don't eat before church on Sundays. And so I made myself eat, and I was sitting at the table, and I was just like shivering, and I'm like, why am I so cold? And I was like, oh, I think I have a fever. And sure enough, took my temperature. In the afternoon, it was 99. I was like, got on the couch, was under like 3 blankets, sweatshirt, sweatpants, fuzzy socks, and, took it again. It was like 101.7. And I was like, ugh. So I had a fever, and I was just, last Sunday was not happening. And so I just binged watch Bones, one of my favorite TV shows, thanks to my high school friend, Abby. Yes, that is my favorite show. That's my quarantine show. And because there's so many seasons, I literally started watching that, the end of last summer, maybe? In the fall? Like in the fall.
That. Yeah.
Obviously, I don't binge watch it like every day, but there's I don't know, I think there's 13 seasons or 12. So, and like 20 something episodes a season. So I have been.
There's plenty to watch.
Yes, I have been watching Bones, and I love it. I don't know why I didn't watch it back then. I guess I was just too busy, but. So I just binge watched Bones and covered in blankets and went to bed covered in blankets and an extra blanket and sweatpants.
You were fully dressed too, like
Yes.
like had all your clothes on.
Yeah,
I
like
was
that's
like, dang.
that's when you know you really don't feel good is when like you put on your lounge clothes because you want to just chill and rest, but when you just get in the bed with those lounge clothes. Because I didn't even have the energy to, like, look for pajamas. I was like, the sweatshirt, the leggings, I'm comfortable, I'm going to bed. And I was like, you just feel the chill, like, to your bone. Even though I was like, feel me. And he would touch me, and I would be, like, hot and clammy. But I was, like, freezing. So, it took about a day and a half till about Monday night, Tuesday morning. And the fever was gone. But then, woof. After that, my arm hurt. Oh my goodness. I've gotten multiple vaccines in the same arm and it did not hurt like that afterwards. So honestly, I think I maybe had like a localized allergic reaction as well. Because it was like this kind of brick shaped mark on my arm that was red and hot. So you guys are probably like, duh, for a few days. And it's still you can still kind of see it. It almost looks like a welt. But everything is fine now. But it hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I like work from home, didn't have to drive, to go to work and stuff. And like nobody was like, hey, how you doing? Because I'd be like,
I had to be careful because, at night a lot of times I rub on her to put her to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And, her left. This is holy matrimony. Yes. We got to talk about all of it. But you had to be careful because her left arm's usually right there. And I was like, oh, wait, no, I can't do that because that would hurt,
So I'm better now. You got your vaccine.
It was a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Before me.
Yeah. And all I had was like the next day I was just a little groggy for a little while.
No fair.
And then I had soreness this arm. I had soreness in my arm for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Yeah. But then the next day, so I got it on a Friday. Saturday I was a little out of it, just a little bit. But then Sunday morning when I woke up, I was like, it was Easter too. I was like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to church.
Oh, because you went Friday.
Yeah.
So it impacts everybody differently, but I am very, very grateful. I know people have different thoughts and opinions around it. That's your business, but I am very grateful to receive it. I'm happy that my parents are vaccinated, and
same here.
By the grace of God, I will see them soon in a couple months. And I haven't seen my mom since March of 2020, and haven't seen my dad since Christmas of 2019. Haven't seen my brother since February of 2020. So, if you have your close relatives and loved ones near you and you've been able to see them this whole time, I hope that you have really thanked God for that every single day, and don't take that for granted, because there's lots of people who just weren't able to see their loved ones this whole time. And some of them didn't see them and they aren't here anymore. And so I'm very grateful, talk to my mom all the time, and she's funny. So, she knows we got our vaccine. And so we're like, okay, after the kids are done with school, we'll figure out, when we can come and visit and see you. So she's like, okay, so do you think that you're going to come like 4th of July? Because we usually do. Traditionally, we usually go down around the 4th of July and spend like a week. And so, I said, sure, we can do that. Okay, good. So like I can start planning my menu. Yes, you can.
Come on with it, Mama.
Yes, you can. So Mama Ware, that's my maiden name. My Mama Ware, she loves to cook for her family and friends. So
she has a ministry gift.
She does.
Hospitality.
Absolutely. That is her gift. And if you know my mother, if you have been graced by her presence and her food, you know that she just has that gift. She will drop everything and cook for you. If you're not feeling well, if you have a celebration and you need something, shoot, if you want to take a treat to your coworkers, you can be like, Miss Janet, can you make some of those? And she will do it. And so I am just like, what day is it? April, May, June, July. Like, okay. And she probably already has a list going. Like when she says that she wants to plan her menu for us coming to visit, she probably has it written down on her notepad, like ideas of what she wants to make. Yeah. So she means it. So I will be very happy to see her. I know she'll be happy to see her grandkids and my dad and, just to hang out with them. Yeah. It's just been, quite the year, I'm sure. We all know that. And so I'm just very, very, very grateful. Just very grateful that, God has kept my parents and your parents healthy. Yeah. Neither one of sets of our parents had COVID. None of my relatives that I know, not a lot of my relatives. My brother did. He had COVID 2 months ago. And, he did get pretty sick. I'm very grateful that he didn't have to go to the hospital and that he's so much better now. He's well. He's back preaching. And so, like, I don't take any of that for granted. Yeah. So I'm just very happy and grateful. Despite everything, I'm still grateful. So yes. Yeah. How'd you doing?
I'm good. Echoing all of those things, because we're one. So good things that she's grateful for, I'm grateful for too. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm also just, thankful for my parents too. You mentioned my parents too, but my mom just had a birthday. Oh, yeah. And I don't know if she wants me to share her age, because she said her birthday party, the theme was Forever Sweet 16.
Yeah. So her cake said Happy Forever Sweet 16.
It was pretty cool too. I give my brother props for, and I don't know, him or my sister did it, but yeah, it was pretty cool looking. But she said Forever Sweet 16. Yeah. But she's not 16. Don't get it twisted. But no, I'm just thankful for her being healthy and my dad being healthy too. It's just really a blessing that they're still here, and we're still able to call them and talk to them and just, learn from them still and just fellowship with them. And it's just a blessing. I'm thankful for that. I'm also just thankful for, being able to get things done on my to-do list. It's, I don't know if that sounds shallow at all, but I just, I'm the kind of person, like, when we get ready to plan to do like a home improvement type thing or whatever, and don't get me wrong, I don't do a lot of big stuff. Yeah. But you guys might have seen, I posted pictures of some floating shelves that we built, and that kind of thing. Like when I'm getting ready to do it and I have it in my mind, and like I'll get all the materials like the night before or whatever, the day before. I'll be up like half the night just thinking about executing it. And so to be able to get it done and get whatever it is done, it's like, okay, all right. But then I start thinking about the next thing. But
because you have like a to-do list on your phone, right?
Yeah.
You started that like last year. Yeah. So like your running to-do list of all the things you want to do. Yeah.
And so just being able to get some of those done and for them to come out how I envision them, it's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. So
I think that's cool though, that you like, a lot of us, I'm not a list kind of person. So, and if I do make lists, I have a whole bunch of lists just everywhere, like, and all kind of notebooks. So it doesn't work that well for me. But I could probably learn a lesson from you and at least keep the list in the same place.
Yeah. All in my iPhone.
Right. But I mean, that's admirable because like you are really good with your list. Like you have this one place, you started my to-do list and you literally have checked like so many things off of that to-do list. And I think that's definitely like a good example and admirable because I... not like
you don't have that gift that
no, yeah, I don't think so. No, I try, but people who know me, I'm not. I take lessons from other people. So like if I see somebody and they're organized well in a certain way, I might take some bits and pieces of that because it's like it just never comes to me. So there are certain things that I've like implemented, but you just really kind of thought about that on your own. Like, okay, I'm going to like create a to-do list in my notes app and that's the one place you keep track of and go to for everything. Like I'll start a to-do list in my notes app and then I'll start like another to-do list in a different notebook somewhere. And so I'll figure it out one day. I have a lot of notebooks.
Yeah, you got notebooks and journals all over the house. For years, you've been having all kind of journals and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
My goal is to fill them all eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, you want to get to our fun fact of the week here? Let's see.
Are you excited about it?
It's cool. It's cool.
So every week, Eric will pick a marriage fun fact. Mm-hmm. I will not know what that fun fact is, and then we will discuss it. Yeah. He found some good ones in our other videos.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. A 15-year-long study found that a person's happiness level before marriage was the best predictor of happiness after marriage.
Like during marriage, like after getting married?
Yeah. In other words, marriage won't automatically make one happy. So I think there's a lot we can talk about with that, because a lot of people coming to a marriage with an expectation that
the other person,
that like everything is going to be happy. You know, I'm going to be happier, which in a way you are, but you kind of got to come into it with happiness. You know, you got to bring happiness to the table.
Yeah.
And
well, even like, so one of our favorite shows, you know, our favorite waste your time shows, I'll say. We don't waste a lot of time.
Guilty pleasure?
Yeah. One of our guilty pleasures or indulgences is Married at First Sight. Y'all, I know some of y'all watch it too.
Come on.
And I think that's kind of one of the things, you don't necessarily hear that said directly, but when they interview a lot of people as to like why they want to be on the show, you know, well, I want to marry somebody so that I can like have fun with and do all of these things, and, you know, like... And that, I think sometimes some people may feel like, so that I can live a happier life. And, you know, there's a lot of things that you can do by yourself or do with your friends or do with a group of people. You don't necessarily have to have a spouse to do them. And I think it's different than saying I want to marry somebody to share in my happiness. But I think there's some of the couples when we watch that show, I kind of get the sense like that's what they're looking for in terms of fulfillment. Like, my life has been this way so far, so I think I should get married so that it can change, so that I can have a more fulfilling life and I can like, experience all these things with my spouse. And it's like, well, if you've never been proactive about doing those things before you were married, or experience life in the way that you want to before you were married, marriage isn't necessarily going to change that. It's not. Like, you're just going to bring that into your marriage, and maybe your spouse may be that type of person, and it could actually backfire, you know? But I think some of the clashes we see on that show sometimes between the couples are for a variety of reasons, but I think sometimes that clash is because you're expecting the other person to bring something to your marriage that will make you happy, or that you'll be able to put your finger on and like say, this has created fulfillment in my life and made me happy. And it's like, no, you've got to bring your whole self to the relationship. The other person has to bring their whole self. You have to be happy yourself. You know, you have to bring an element of joy yourself to the relationship. I can't fully depend on the other person to make me happy. And I can't even rely on the fact that, like, I'm married. Right. To, like, mean that, like, because I'm married, now I'll be happy. And I'm going to be totally fulfilled for the rest of my life, because there's challenges. There's going to be challenges, all kinds of things that we experience in marriage. And so if I'm relying on my relationship to determine, you know, my happiness, I'm in trouble. Yeah, because like, I mean, even just looking at like our first year of marriage, right? Like before we got married, we had been friends for a long time. We had been friends for almost 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had been friends for almost 5 years, including the time that we were like dating and engaged. We were friends for almost 5 years. We both had, went to college. We had mutual friends. He was working a job. I was kind of headed on one path. We got engaged. We're getting married. But then a lot of things changed for us as we approached our date of like getting married and starting our married life together. That's when we changed course and went into full-time ministry. He left his full-time day job. I was coming off of a different ministry position, and we started doing that together. And that whole first year for us was hard. Not just hard for our marriage, but it was hard in terms of being in full-time ministry together. We were young, inexperienced, you could say novice in some ways. And there were just a lot of challenges that we walked into with that job that we took. So that made us, that put a strain on our relationship. And, nothing negative happened, but it was we had to work really hard to build and strengthen our relationship. So if in the midst of all that stress and all of that change, if I'm just looking for my marriage to make me happy, I would have been in trouble because he was stressed out. There was times where, you were unhappy, and when you were, facing challenges or, disappointed, or a whole gamut of emotions we both experienced because of all of the challenges we faced. So if I was relying on the experience of marriage to make me happy, we wouldn't have made it.
Right.
He didn't do anything wrong to me. It was just tough. It was just tough. And so if I would have felt well, if this is what marriage is going to be like, I signed up for this, and we can't do that because we didn't know 6 months before, that life was going to change.
Right.
And so nobody knows in their marriage. I mean, none of us knew at the end of 2019 what 2020 was going to look like, did we? Right? And so,
nobody knew. Yeah,
and so many things externally impact husbands and wives and your marriage relationship. So it has to be more than I need you to make me happy, or it has to be more than you thinking that you need marriage to be happy. You don't. That's not what marriage is for. Marriage isn't for you. Marriage isn't just to make for you. Marriage doesn't exist just to make you happy, right? Your marriage is for you to put into it.
Right. Like Inez said, you have to come to the table with something to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing I want to say is that I think there are many people that think by saying I do that all their baggage will go away. No. When you come into a marriage, that baggage comes with you. Sure does. It's really good to... But the thing about it, it's good to deal with it before you get married. But there's some things that some baggage that people have that they don't even know about until they get married. You know what I'm saying? Until a situation or something brings it out of them.
Like what?
Like, for instance, I can't really think of an example with us, but I mean, talking about married at first sight again, that's a different situation.
Yeah.
They don't know each other, but, some people, they come into it with all the best intentions, but then when they see the person they're matched with, all this bad stuff starts coming out in their personality, and they think they're, a good person. They think they, handle things well, but it's showing that they obviously have some baggage in some areas. And I mean, I think that happens in real life too. You come into a situation and you might just something trigger you from your past or whatever. And then now you gotta, and your spouse is like, what are you talking about? Like, where'd this come from? But,
which did happen to us.
Yeah. Well,
we were engaged.
Yeah, engaged. I was gonna say, not when we were married.
But I mean, even when we were, I was aware of certain emotional baggage that I had been carrying, and it did come out more so when we were engaged. We were able to really talk about it and deal with it, but it didn't necessarily go away when we got married. I had to work on it. I had to be constantly aware of that. And there were moments where it would flare up, like certain things, you know, we would get into like heated debates or discussions or disagreements. And I think that emotional baggage, because some of it was still there, I would respond a certain way. But like, you know, you may have heard me talk before about just learning how to keep my emotions in check, not suppress my emotions, but also manage my emotions in our relationship so that I'm not like being manipulative, you know, or trying to get out of accountability for anything on my part. And that was a part of that baggage, right? That was me still carrying some of that baggage and responding, you know, to a disagreement we might have or a challenge we may have had in our relationship, holding on to that baggage. And so because I was carrying that baggage, I wasn't able to like fully communicate with you only. Like I was communicating with you and I was communicating with what was in the bag, you know, and that like he didn't know what was in the bag. He didn't know the baggage is invisible. So I'm responding to him and he's like, dang, like, what did I do? But it was you and it was the baggage, right? So we, like you said, we all carry baggage into our relationship. So if I'm looking towards like this situation to like make me happy and complete, if you are, then you also have to be aware of the baggage that comes along with it and the baggage that you bring. You know, it doesn't mean that, you know, you're doomed for failure. It just, there's going to be challenges. And if we think that we're going to go into a marriage and like just be happy forever and it's just always going to be, you know, butterflies and rainbows and unicorns, you know, everything is great all the time. That's not true. Doesn't mean that everything is bad. There's just challenges, there's difficulties, there's growing pains. Right. And you have to understand that even all of those things contribute to your happiness. I think a lot of times we say we want happiness, but we don't want the work and we don't want the challenge behind like what it takes to be happy in a marriage relationship. It takes work.
A lot of the happiness comes from overcoming trials and tribulations too. You know, like a lot of times we'll look back over things that, you know, we've overcome and just like, man, you know, that was just like, you know, when you're on a football team or a basketball, man, remember when we beat such and such high school, man, we killed them mugs. You know what I'm saying? Like overcoming brings you know, shared joy and shared, you know, feelings of achievement, you know, which, you know, just can propel you forward, you know. And so that you know that when you come against something else, you have that track record of victory with one another and that you can say, hey, we're going to get through this together. We're going to do it. We're going to overcome it. And we're going to look back one day and say, you know, we did that. You know?
You have the lessons to revert back to. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. It kind of segues us into kind of the other part of what we wanted to talk about tonight was, you know, some of our greatest lessons that we've learned this past year. We went on a date last night.
We went out, kicked it a little bit.
You said it was our first date since my birthday?
Yes, since your birthday weekend.
So since February.
Yeah.
And of course, special circumstances, but we also know the value of quality time. Yeah. And it's really important for us to carve that time out. So it felt so good, you know, to like put on something nice. And we dress nice every Sunday for church. But I was telling someone last night, it was nice to like put on nice clothes and makeup another day of the week and see people that I don't normally see. And go out on a date to a place that you've been plenty of times. And I haven't been able to go, but we finally did. But while we were there, a friend of ours, who we hadn't seen either, like this whole time, you know, he was just asking us, like, how are you guys doing? And one of the things he talked about was just all, like, this, you know, the whole COVID pandemic situation and how there's two types of people, right? So there's the people who, when a situation happens, they deal with it. They just deal with it, right? How they just have to figure it out. They just have to deal with it so they can get through it. And then there's the other type of people who, when they're faced with a situation, they face it head on and they realize that, okay, I'm going to have to make some adjustments and there's probably going to be some things that I'm going to learn here. So what can I learn from this situation? Even though it's not ideal, I don't want to be in it, I'm uncomfortable, but what can I learn? And so, he was just kind of explaining to us, some of the things that he came to learn as a result of really having to make a lot of adjustments because of the pandemic. And so, that made us think about and ask ourselves, what has been some of our greatest lessons from all of this past year. And yes, we definitely want to acknowledge we are still in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah, it's still trying to rear its ugly head around the world.
It is. So we definitely want to acknowledge that. Yeah. We know that there are people that are still contracting COVID. We still know people that have loved ones that have recently passed away, so we don't take that lightly. But it's been a year, and we want to just reflect on some of the lessons, I think, as a couple and as individuals that we have learned, as a result of having to adapt and adjust. I heard, it was a trainer, I was in a training, and she was just saying, you know what, 2 words you should never forget is adapt and adjust, because you are always going to have to do those 2 things in life. And I was like, absolutely, I agree. So you want to go first?
I would say individually, the one thing I've learned, well, there's many things, but one thing I've learned and kind of come to understand is that I've always known this, but now it's kind of more real to me that God is my source, and everything else is a resource, whether it be my job, money I make on the side doing music or whatever it is. If all those things go away, God is still there to be my source. And growing up, I mean, we didn't have a lot growing up. So I've always been kind of driven in a way to work, to get it done, to make money however I can, whatever opportunity I have, make the most of it. And those things are good. I believe God wants us to make the most of what he puts in front of us. But I was used to hustling and grinding and pushing and learning all the music I needed to learn, take every gig that they throw at me and everything, just because in my mind, I want to bless my family. I want them to have a bright present and future. You know what I'm saying? So, but in this, after everything slowed down, I was able to play at church, but everything else just came to a halt. And I had to come to grips with, okay, well, that money's not there. But at the same time, God was supplying all of our needs, still over and above, and I am very grateful for that. I know a lot of people that have really had a hard time because of the slowdown in musical venues and things like that. But I realized that I don't have to hustle and I don't have to grind as hard. I just need to trust God. I just need to listen to God. And, he always comes through. He always makes a way. He always provides for me. And so I don't have to burn myself out to provide for you all. I don't have to burn myself out to have a future financially. I mean, there's, I work during the day, but then I'd be going to rehearsals, sometimes late night rehearsals. Cats be like, man, we about to rehearse at 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh man, 10 o'clock,
to get up
10 o'clock 5. At night.
Right. Having to get up at 5 in the morning to leave at 5:45 to get to work.
Yeah.
Going to a rehearsal at 10 o'clock.
Sometimes even later than that,
right.
And then this is a whole different subject. But then there'd be times we'd have these late rehearsals and some people wouldn't even come prepared. Now that you want to see me turn into the Incredible Hulk, keep doing that. Anyway.
There are very few things that set my husband off.
Yeah.
And one of them is when people are not prepared.
Yeah. Because I do all I can to
Yes.
prepare. And
Yes.
I work during the day and I have a family. We get, dinner and all that for the kids, and I still find time to do it. I figure if I can do it, anybody can do it. But anyway, that's a whole different page. That's not even part of Holy Matrimony.
I was gonna say
that's the
lesson.
Yaktastic YouTube channel. I can talk about that later. But I realized I don't have to burn myself out to provide for my family. All I got to do is just listen to God, listen for his wisdom, listen for his strategy, and he will show me what to do to make it happen. And I can just, yes, I'll work hard, but I'll have peace, and I can, the things that are a priority to me, like my family, will be taken care of. So that's one thing I've learned through the pandemic.
Can I dig a little bit and just... No, in a good way, in a good way, because I think I of course absolutely agree. And I know sometimes it might be difficult when people hear, I'll just be honest. I think it's hard sometimes when people hear faith-filled explanations as far as well, God is my source. And yes, I agree, but I think, I agree, and I also think I agree, and I also think that some people might be like, well, what does that mean? So, I'm just saying, maybe think back to this past year. I mean, I think overall, God is my source. The whole lesson is really, I don't have to hustle all the time, because if you know my husband, then you know and if you know the life of a musician, you do understand. But maybe for people who don't know you well or don't know the life of a musician, when you say what give an example of how that changed for you, something that maybe changed where in the past it would just be an automatic go do, but your thinking changed, so instead of doing this, I did this and just trusted God, and then this happened.
Well, I would say a few years ago my mind started to shift into that direction. The pandemic definitely kind of sealed the deal, because a lot of things were taken away. So it's what are you going to do? But even a few years ago, as our kids started getting a little older, they're still young, but as they were starting to become preteens and different things like that, I realized that my real dream, my first priority is to be a great father and to raise a great family. And so, yes, that part of that is providing for them, but a lot of that is also spending time with them and sowing what my character is into them. And that can only happen by spending time with them. So leaving a legacy, basically. So, that's when I started to think about some of the things I was doing, and I just had to kind of say, this is cool, but it doesn't serve my priorities, and so I had to kind of take a step back from a few different things. And, but like I said, last year, it really hit me that I don't even have to hustle as much as I was still hustling. I can pick and choose what the things I want to pursue, and the things that bring me joy, and the things that fulfill me too, as I, share my gift with the world too. So.
And sometimes those things that brought you joy and bring you joy, they're not always the shiniest. They're not always the biggest in other people's eyes, but they're what fulfill your heart's desire,
right?
And what bring you joy, and what align with your biggest priorities in life. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to lose sight of that, because, but it's such a great opportunity, or it's this person, and it's but if that's not your heart's desire, if that's not going to continue to support your goal and your dream of being a great dad, then it isn't the best.
Yeah.
It isn't the best opportunity. Right. All money is not good money. That's what Inez says. That's right.
That's what they say in playing dominoes.
Yeah. Burnout affects the whole family.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yes. And I can say that I have appreciated that. We had this conversation, I think, in a couple weeks ago, just about sacrifice. We talked about sacrifice a few Sundays ago, and so totally understanding like each other's desire, and even when we both were in that like hustle mode and feeling like I gotta hustle, we did sacrifice for each other, and honestly, I would do it again, right? But I think now also coming to the place where we realize that it's not just about the hustle, right? It's about that balance.
Right.
There has to be a balance. It's about that balance that also contributes to our goals, because we are raising children and we want to be an example for them as well. And so, do I want my kids to learn that like all they can do in life is hustle? I mean, some people might disagree with me. That's your business, right? But I don't necessarily. That's not my biggest lesson I want them to take from our relationship, especially because they're viewing us as their mother and father who are married. And so we're not just giving them individual examples. We're also giving them a collective example of like, this is what a marriage can look like.
Right.
And so how do our individual, striving for our individual goals, how does that make that look to them? And I think that's made a big difference in us. So, yes. Yeah. So I appreciate it. And I feel like because you've, gained that wisdom, about yourself and like just really trusting yourself, you've been able to kind of like shift and do some other things that you've wanted to do and focus. Like, that's one thing we were telling our friend last night, is that even these lessons have brought us to a place where we're able to focus on some things at home that like we had just been putting off or just hadn't even noticed or just felt like we didn't have time. So we just settled for it being that way. Yeah. And we didn't have to, but it just wasn't a priority for us. Right. So yeah, I love that. Yeah. I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I am, y'all. But I also think too that for me, one of my biggest lessons in this past year is very similar. But I think overall, my biggest lesson is that you are okay where you are. And again, same for me, where because of the pandemic and different restrictions, a lot changed for me, where there were certain things that I was involved in and going out of the house and to meetings and, all kinds of things where that all came to a screeching halt, right? I'm not going to anybody's house, to sell beauty products. That stopped. But even more so because our children were also at home and because they were so impacted by everything, my priority did shift, right? Because I wanted to make sure that, they were okay, like mentally, emotionally, being able to handle everything. So I definitely felt like, okay, I cannot focus on 4, 5, 6 different things at once. Nope. And I'm a feeler. Okay, so like if you're all into the personality things, like I'm definitely a feeler. I'm intuitive. So in terms of like understanding that, a pandemic is stressful for everyone, I didn't have a problem realizing that. Not at all. Not at all. Being in a pandemic, as a parent, being married, work structure changing, children going to school from home, not seeing family, not being able to go to the grocery store, as like all those things, like I'm very aware. And so immediately, I think for me, some of the like wisdom I had taken in, it was kind of like, now it's time to apply it. And I'm like a huge Brene Brown fan. And one of her books that I read, I can't remember when, but one of the things somebody in the book said, I don't even think it was her, but she quoted somebody, and basically that quote was like, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Ew.
what? You know, because we know we tend to in our world, you know, we tend to envy everybody who has the long list of things that they're committed to and they can get them all done, right? We want to be like that person. Oh my gosh, like what's the phrase? How do you do it all? Like that is the thing. How do you do it all? And I mean, people would even say that to me, and I'd be like, I don't know, like. But then inside, I'm feeling like I'm really not getting it all done. But that. When the pandemic hit, it really sunk in. If you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any. And when I took inventory of what my life was like, that was true. Like my job, ministry, and kids, solid. But when I started adding...
What about me?
Family, sorry. You're like...
You gotta take care of your husband.
Yes, that's not what I mean.
I know.
You know what I mean. But family, I'll say family, because that does include my extended family too. So like, when I took inventory and I realized that my career that I love, my family that I love, my ministry that I love, not only did I feel like those 3 things, you know, I was definitely called to all of them. Absolutely called to do what I do on my job. I was called, my husband, God brought us together, my children, absolutely. I know, like, I don't take that for granted. And like being involved in ministry, I'm serving at my church as a worship leader, what we do here. Like, once I realized that and I started to look at like some other things that I was kind of being pulled in these other directions. And when the pandemic came and those things had to like be put on the side, I felt like I could breathe.
Wow.
I felt like I like knew what I was doing. You know, like I just felt like I could breathe and just like slow down. I love to cook. But when I was hustling and doing this and this and this and all this stuff, it was a chore. It was a chore. It was hard to cook. I cook every day. Joyfully, I'm not saying that that's the woman's place. I love to cook, okay? And I feel like that even suffered. Like, even those things that I know that I'm good at and that, like, I want to do in service to my family, like, I feel like those things suffered before because I was just trying to be all things for everybody. And I just had too many priorities. I thought, you know, thinking that I could juggle all of them. But I was finally able to just slow down and say, nope, these are the things that I am so wholeheartedly committed to that if the world flipped upside down, I would still be committed to them. And I couldn't say that about everything. Right. And when the world did flip upside down with a pandemic, I knew that those were the things. Those were my 3 biggest priorities. And that I would never let those things go. And that there were some other things that I were like the fact that I didn't think about those things didn't worry me. And so I feel like if you're trying to figure out what your priorities are, ask yourself, if I didn't think about this for a whole week, like, how would I feel? If I like didn't do this for a whole week, if you honestly like would not feel any different, if you wouldn't skip a beat, it's probably not a priority to you. You're trying to make it a priority, or it's sucking up time from something else that should be a priority. And there were some things in my life that were like that, and because I was able to see that more clearly, I was able to give more quality time to my family. I was able to do the things that I know I should be doing, you know, as a wife, as a partner, as a mother, you know, where before I would just be so tired that like, I would be tired, y'all. Tired. And now I have more energy. Like, and I feel like it's a joy to do those things. Like, it's a joy for me to cook dinner for my family. It's a joy for me. I mean, I don't like doing laundry and folding.
You're going to tell on yourself every week.
Yeah. Oh, heck, did I bring that up last time too?
I think so, yeah.
That's because the pile is like still there. It's like evolving. It's like as much clothes as we wear, and the pile doesn't change. And I know I'm not alone, so I'm not ashamed.
Yeah, you know, this part me too, you know.
But that dreaded laundry, y'all.
Yeah, never ending.
Right.
Never ending.
But the other thing too is because I was able to really, really take some time, think about myself, figure out what my priorities were, and just, you know, really hold them up as priorities, then I had opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities that came my way. That align with those priorities. Yeah, and I just realized that now, like literally just thinking about a few things, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like when we try to force other things in that place of what our priorities should be, we miss out on so many things. And I have this journal, because y'all, I remember earlier, I have a lot of journals. Okay, so I have this one journal. It's like a journal planner. Didn't even use the planner part. See, I don't like lists. So I have this one journal, but it's great because in the beginning, it has like all these exercises for you to just really like flush out like all your dreams, like whatever you want to do. You know, you can call it your bucket list, whatever. I mean, and I think this is from like 4 years ago, and I still have it. And I pulled it out and I was like blown away because I was looking at the list. And last year I was like, oh my gosh, like circle that one. Oh, circle that one too. Because I figured out what was important to me, what my priorities were, what aligned with my values. Some of those things on that list that was totally aligned with those things literally happened. And I was just like, I didn't have to hustle for it. I didn't have to, like you said, I didn't have to go to meetings and stay up late at night. I didn't have to ask 10,000 people to help me. You know, I didn't have to do none of that. It was what aligned with who I know that I am and what's most important to me. And one of those things is gardening. It is. I have said for so long, like probably since we've been married, that I have wanted to have a garden. I grew up with a garden in inner city Milwaukee. My dad has had one my whole life. He still has one. He had one before I was born, and he grew up on a farm. So it's in me, and I've always wanted one, but I'm too busy. I'm never at home. I don't know how to do it because I'm too busy, because I couldn't take the time to learn how to do it. Like all of those things. And guess what? If you follow me on Instagram, Candace_cultivates. Last year I started and it was like the best thing ever. Like I just felt like that was so me. Like that was me. It was so meant for me. Like I felt in my element, like, oh my gosh, this is like just a whole nother part of me being like birthed, that I knew that was there. It just hadn't come out yet. And it was because of those priorities getting aligned, because my garden, it feeds my family. It's quality time with me and my children. That we're not in front of a screen. You know, for a minute when they were distance learning and like the schools were trying to figure out how the heck they was going to do what they was doing, I said, that's okay, because we going to go out and we going to garden and they going to get some life experience and life lessons. So this time isn't going to be wasted, right? They were learning. And so it totally aligned with my priorities. And so it fit right in. I didn't have to sacrifice time with my family. I didn't have to hustle. I didn't have to stress myself out. It fit. And so that is my biggest lesson of this year, is that when you understand who you are and what your priorities are, the opportunities that come, the ones that you're meant to do, will make sense because they will fit. See, if the opportunity comes and it is causing you to really sacrifice those big top 3 priorities in your life, you really have to ask yourself whether or not I'm supposed to be doing this. Or whether or not it fits. And I know that might be like a hard pill to swallow. For some of y'all, it might be hard, but I truly believe deep down in my heart that it's true. Because we all have different priorities. So I'm not saying that your top 3 have to be family, career, ministry. It is whatever you truly believe and know in your heart. But if you do know, and if you're very clear on what those priorities are, when an opportunity comes your way, you'll be able to say yes or no. So for example, some folks approach me, you should run for city council. Now, granted, when they approached me, all I said was I would be interested in learning more about city council because I don't know about local government. That turned into, you should totally run. I said, I will listen to some information. And when I listen to some information, God bless them, wonderful people, love them. I'm sorry, but it's not for me right now. It's not. I'm not willing to commit to the time to do a whole bunch of phone banking.
Phone banking, what's that?
Like calls, all. It's not for me.
You like talking on the phone?
I do, but I didn't feel like
not like that.
But taking the time away to do that, you know, just a lot of it. I knew in my core, it's not for me. It's not for me. Could I do it? Absolutely. Could I do it? Yes. And I had a lot of support. I may have been able to run successfully. Not sure if you know where I live, but that's the thing. Sometimes we get kind of duped because we know like, well, I'm a shoo-in, or it totally fits me, or like I have all this support, and it just, you know, I mean, just same thing with you and your music. Like you will have other people coming to you asking you to play because of your track record, of your character. You know, people know that you're going to show up prepared. They know you can get the job done. You're good, but that doesn't mean you should say yes. Right.
That's one thing I was going to say as you were talking, is that you got to be careful to not let other people choose your priorities for you.
Say that again.
You have to be very careful. Not to allow other people.
Don't let other people
to choose your priorities for you. You know what I'm saying? Because some people want something for you so bad.
Ooh, stop it.
For whatever reason, you know, it could be a genuine reason, maybe not. But sometimes people want something for you so bad they want you to do it, and then if you internalize that and say, "Yeah, you're right, I should do that," then down the line you're gonna regret it.
Did y'all hear that? We're gonna run it back one more time. He said, "Be careful not to let other people choose your priorities for you, because they may want it for you so bad." What'd you say? That you start to internalize it.
Yeah, and say, yeah, maybe I should do that.
Maybe I should do it.
And then down the line, years later, you look back and like, what did I do that for? You know, you have to make sure it's your own priority. Yeah, me too.
Been there.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, you might be wondering, okay, well, we're sharing like our lessons from the past year, and they don't necessarily seem like they're related to holy matrimony, but they absolutely are. Absolutely are. Because you think when he was doing all that hustling and I was doing all that hustling and saying yes to everybody, that we had time for each other? Reasonable time,
right?
Like not staying up till 1 o'clock talking, because that was the only quality time moment we had, because we didn't get home till 11 o'clock. So it is totally aligned with how you can be whole and successful in your marriage relationship with each other. Is you knowing you and what is most important to you. And what are your priorities? Because they'll align, right? Our priorities align. I didn't have to tell him what his priorities should be, and he didn't have to tell me mine. But they agree. They may not even be the same. I mean, one of you may not have career as like your top priority. Okay. But I believe that when you both like fully lean into like who you are and who you know you are called to be, and what's most important to you, like those priorities will align. So that your marriage will be further blessed because both of you are honoring who you are as individuals. Going back to the happiness piece. If you're honoring who you are, you're coming into that relationship knowing that I'm bringing my happiness, I'm bringing my priorities, I'm bringing my joy, and the other person is doing the same. It only enhances the relationship that the two of you have. Yeah. And so because I know my priorities, it's family. It starts with us. There's always going to be time for us. I'm always going to think about us having quality time, going on dates. What can I do special for him? Instead of it being like an afterthought of like, oh my gosh, we haven't been on a date in 3 months. Like, we need to figure something out. Like, what spouse wants to hear it like that? Oh, we need to go on a date. And you're probably thinking like, I've been thinking that. Like, yeah.
But at that the other side of the coin is I have to say something too.
True.
I have to say, hey, we're going out on a date.
Yeah. But you shouldn't have to feel like you have to snatch me out of the hustle to do that. You know?
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel like, okay, we need to go on a date as if like you're kind of you're pulling me away from something. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Unless we're both like, this is the period of our lives where we're really focused on this one thing. But other than that, like, you shouldn't feel like you have to pull me away from stuff.
Yeah.
To like remind me that we need to spend time together. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful for learning that lesson. Because I cannot imagine if I was trying to do all the things that I was trying to do in the midst of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
No. It would have been, I wouldn't have been no good to anyone. Even with being at home all day. Still, I would have been wore out.
Yeah.
And I think I've just loved the fact that, like you said, I think, or maybe you made me think about it when you said something, but you just learn to appreciate things so much more when you don't feel like you have to do everything. You do.
Yeah.
You appreciate the things that you do have. You appreciate the opportunities that you are able to take advantage of. Like they're precious to you.
Yeah.
They're precious to you because you know, like, these are like the things that are so important to me. These are the people that are the most important to me. And I don't ever want anything to like come before those things.
Right.
I don't ever want to sacrifice those priorities.
I think also you begin to learn to value yourself, not based on what you do all the time.
Yeah.
Not based on what you accomplish or based on how much you hustle and how much you get done or how much you bring in, whatever it is. You start to sit back and reflect and just learn to enjoy your life and just really get to know yourself even better and just realize that your value is there just because you are who you are.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Who I be is who I be. It's not what I do. Right? And we used to joke around and pre-COVID, and we used to wonder, I wonder what it's like to be normal. And you might be like, well, what is that? Well, to us, being normal was like, I wonder what it's like to like go to work, come home, enjoy a meal together, and just relax. Because we didn't used to do that. And when COVID forced us, we were like, oh, this is what that's like.
This ain't so bad.
I like this. That's all right. You mean I could like do this for a whole week and still feel productive?
My calendar, all the evenings are free, except one maybe.
Because it's a different type of productivity.
Yeah.
That too. We thought, oh well, we weren't judging other people because we wanted to be like that, but we felt like that wasn't as productive. And like he said, in this past year, our income has increased. Like, I've received promotions, shuns, plural, like promotions.
Double for your trouble.
Yes, promotions. Our income has increased. We've decreased
a lot of expenses,
and like our one piece of consumer debt, we completely paid off in the midst, like literally bought a new vehicle at the start of the pandemic in February 2020 and paid it off in full in February of 2021. In 11 months. We paid off.
Glory to God.
We paid it off in 11 months. And it took work, it took commitment, but it also happened because we understood our priorities. We did. And I believe, like you said, God honored that. God honored us because we honored our priorities, and he was at the center of that. Because he was the one that helped us to determine and see that in the first place. And because we honored those priorities and we didn't feel like, well, I can do it, God. I mean, like, I just need to hustle. Let me just do it. Like, we said, okay, no, Lord. These are our priorities. We want to fully honor them. And that means that we're not going to take advantage of every opportunity, but we know you got us. We know you'll take care of us. And he did.
Yeah.
He did. He gave us the wisdom on how to manage our finances better and how to sacrifice some things, but we were able to enjoy a lot so that we could, reap the benefits. So, and that has enhanced our relationship. Just imagine, I mean, we are happier. We are happier. We are, managing stress differently. I won't say we don't have any stress, but we're managing it differently.
Yeah.
We're enjoying so much time with our kids, and I believe they are enjoying the time as best they can, and they're more relaxed because they have their parents. We're both here in the evenings. Usually it's like, you go one night, I go the other night. And then now they had got a little bit older, then it was kind of like, okay, Dad's got to go to this rehearsal and I've got to go to this meeting. And, but no, we're here. We're here with them. And, they're teenagers. They're not going to be around forever. And so that's meaningful for us. It means a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we know our lives will change in the future and we'll be doing more stuff at some point. But right now, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah. I'm content.
Yes.
Satisfied.
Yes. Content. Ooh, I love it.
I don't have all the bases I want, but I'm still satisfied. Come on, thank you. I mean, sorry.
You got enough. I'm proud. You sold one or two?
I sold two bases.
Oh my gosh, really? So you have what, 5 now?
That's cold. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Raina's.
Oh.
I don't play on that one.
He has 4.
I might have to bring that mug out to a gig.
So
anyway.
Well, I'm proud then. You have 4 bases.
Only 4 bases.
Yes. So yes, those are our lessons from this past year.
Yeah.
And that's just, I would want to reiterate what you said. Do not let other people choose your priorities for you. And there may be somebody who wants it so bad for you, but you know that is not what's in your heart. That's not the priority that you have. So be careful that you don't allow them to drive you into that. If it's really not where your heart is.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I gotta sit with that. 'Cause that is, hopefully somebody, that was for you. That was free, y'all.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Use that.
Yes. So we appreciate you. We're just excited to be back, and I'm very happy to be feeling much better. We know this has been a very challenging week. Very challenging, especially, I won't even say especially for anybody. It's challenging for all of us, regardless of where we are.
Right.
And you don't even have to be in Minnesota. And we are praying, and just believing God for just an outcome that continues to move us along the path of His will for our lives, and for His plan and purpose and His love in this earth realm, because without Him, there is nothing.
Right.
We pray for all of the families and of so many individuals this week that have been impacted by police violence and brutality. And we pray for those who are on the front lines, who are fighting for change, and who are standing up against injustice. You know, there's so much, so much. And so we hope that, you know, that you were able to have a moment of joy with us tonight, and smile and laugh, but just know that, you know, we are praying and we're believing God, just for his love and peace to really reign and rule in our world, and that he is in control. Yeah. And that it takes all of us, you know, to hear his voice and follow his instructions in order for us to see the changes that we want to see.
Yes, indeed.
And there are so many things going on. Please protect your peace and protect your joy. Tell your loved ones you love them. Yeah. You know, and pray for everyone. Pray for everyone, because God's heart grieves. Yeah. At the destruction and the hate and the loss of life as a result of hate. He is not pleased with that, and it grieves his heart. But he needs us as people to do his work and to do his will. And so that's what our prayer is, that those of us who are part of the body of Christ, we will do his work. Yeah. And we will do his will to see the world changed. So we love you and thank you. And we will see you next week.
All right. Yeah. God bless y'all.
God bless you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Holy Matrimony with Eric and Candace Yates. Don't forget to subscribe. We want you to be notified of all of our new content. Take care.